England's student debt burden in 2026. Why graduates in England feel the system is not fair. For many young people in England, higher education was sold as an investment in their future. Students were encouraged to take on significant debt with the promise that repayments would be affordable, linked to earnings, and that the benefits of a degree would outweigh the costs. The Workers of England Union has always argued that the system has been unfair to students living in England, and now we have noted that increasingly, however, many graduates believe that promise has been broken. Rising interest rates and frozen repayment thresholds. Recent controversy over student loans has highlighted growing frustration among graduates, particularly those with Plan 2 loans taken out between 2012 and 2023. While the government has announced a temporary cap on interest rates, criticism continues over frozen repayment thresholds, rising debt balances, and the ability of the British governments to alter the terms of loans years after students signed their agreements. One of the biggest concerns is inflation. Young people in England entering the labour market today face a very different economic environment from the one many were promised when applying for university. Housing costs have risen dramatically, rents consume an increasing proportion of income, and the cost of essentials such as food and energy remains high. At the same time, wage growth has often failed to keep pace with living costs, particularly for those at the beginning of their careers. For graduates across England, and in part Wales, the situation is made worse by student loan repayments. Although repayments are linked to earnings, many borrowers find themselves paying hundreds or even thousands of pounds each year while seeing little reduction in the amount they owe. In some cases, the debt continues to increase because interest is added faster than repayments are reducing the balance. The government's decision to freeze repayment thresholds has intensified these concerns. As wages rise due to inflation, more graduates are drawn into making repayments or paying larger amounts, even though their real spending power has not increased. Critics argue this effectively acts as a stealth tax on younger workers, comparing educational funding across the UK nations. The argument put forward by ministers is that student loans are not conventional loans. Because they are subsidised by taxpayers and include protections such as income-based repayments and eventual write-off periods, governments maintain that they have the right to alter the terms. Many graduates disagree, arguing that changing repayment conditions after students have already committed to university undermines trust and creates financial uncertainty. The situation becomes even more controversial when England is compared with other parts of the United Kingdom. Scottish students studying in Scotland do not pay tuition fees. The Scottish government funds tuition through public spending, significantly reducing the debt burden faced by many graduates. While Scottish students may still require maintenance loans, they often leave university owing substantially less than their counterparts in England. In Wales, tuition fees are charged, but students have historically benefited from more generous maintenance support than those in England. Welsh students have often received higher levels of living cost assistance, reducing the need for additional borrowing. Northern Ireland students face lower tuition fees than students in England and generally graduate with lower overall debt levels. As a result, many students in England question why they face the highest tuition fees and some of the largest graduate debts in Europe, while students elsewhere in the UK receive more favourable treatment. The differences have fuelled concerns about fairness within the UK itself. The Workers of England Union challenges that unfairness. The wider issue extends beyond student loans. Younger generations face a combination of high housing costs, insecure employment, rising living expenses, and reduced opportunities for wealth accumulation. Against that backdrop, large student debts are increasingly viewed not as an investment, but as another financial burden. The debate over student finance is therefore about more than interest rates or repayment thresholds. It is about whether England's higher education funding model is fair, sustainable, and capable of providing opportunities without saddling young people with decades of debt. Until those questions are addressed, dissatisfaction among graduates is unlikely to disappear. England now ranks among the countries with the highest levels of graduate debt in the developed world, roughly £45,000 and £60,000. Although the United States often receives attention for its student debt crisis, English graduates can leave university owing comparable amounts once tuition fees and maintenance loans are combined. Demands for reform and generational equity. The comparison raises important questions about fairness. A student from Edinburgh attending a Scottish university can graduate with little or no tuition fee debt, while a student from Newcastle or Manchester may leave university owing more than £50,000. The educational experience may be similar, but the financial consequences can be dramatically different. Supporters of the English model argue that graduates contribute more because they generally benefit from higher lifetime earnings. Critics counter that the system places a disproportionate burden on younger generations already facing high housing costs, rising rents, and economic uncertainty. The result is that many English graduates begin their working lives carrying levels of debt that would have been almost unimaginable to previous generations. While repayments operate more like a graduate tax than a conventional loan, the psychological impact of seeing tens of thousands of pounds of debt attached to a university education continues to fuel demands for reform. Reform that the workers of England wants. Stephen Morris, General Secretary.